Know your rights. Racial discrimination in employment. Racial discrimination is about treating people less favorably than others because of their race. For example, because of your ethnicity, you may be treated less equal than someone who is ethnically Chinese in Hong Kong. The Race Discrimination Ordinance protects rights of those subject to racial discrimination in Hong Kong. There are multiple forms of discrimination. It is important to know the difference so you know how to protect your rights. What is direct discrimination? Direct discrimination is where there is a visible comparison of treatment between the way someone treats you and the way they treat someone else, perhaps of a different ethnicity. This is Salma. Salma has an interview for a job tomorrow. She has a graduate degree, 4 years of experience, and great recommendations.
Thank you for the opportunity. I will come in at 3 p.m. for my interview.
Sure, you are well qualified. See you then.
Hello, nice to meet you.
Oh no, she's not Chinese. Sorry, the position has been filled. You may go home.
The manager later hires a woman of Chinese ethnicity with less credentials who is less qualified.
If the employer did not hire Salma solely because of her ethnicity,
this is less favorable treatment on the ground of race if another job seeker who is not of South Asian origin was given an interview opportunity and subsequently a job, and therefore this amounts to direct discrimination under Section 41A of the Race Discrimination Ordinance. It is also considered as discrimination against applicants and employees under Section 10 of the Race Discrimination Ordinance. As under Section 10 of the Race Discrimination Ordinance, it is unlawful for an employer to discriminate against a job applicant on the ground of his or her race.
what is indirect discrimination? This is different from and less straightforward than direct discrimination. For example, this is Raj. Raj is required to wear a kara, which is a bracelet as part of his religious beliefs. He works in a kitchen at a restaurant where there is a ban on hand jewelry for health and safety reasons. However, if necessary, staff may cover any essential bracelets by wrapping a bandage wrap around it. To comply with safety standards, Raj always wraps a cloth around his kara.
You have to take off your bracelet. If not, I will fire you. I am following the rules. I always cover my bracelet.
This amounts to indirect discrimination under Section 41B of the Race Discrimination Ordinance, because, although this ban is equally applicable to all staff, it causes greater unfairness to Raj. Although the ban is in place for health and safety reasons, as there is a practical alternative available that will satisfy the health and safety requirements, it is therefore a discriminatory policy. Any restrictions in your place of employment that prohibits you from wearing customary clothing as part of your religion or ethnicity is indirect discrimination.
Accordingly, your place of work should not prohibit you from wearing a kara, a turban, or a burqa.
It is not discriminatory only where it is necessary, as there are no practical alternatives, such as on the grounds of health and safety. For example, if Raj worked on a construction site where he has to wear a helmet, although as part of his religion Raj has to wear a turban, it is not discriminatory to be required to wear a helmet instead, if it is necessary for safety reasons and there are no practical alternatives.
Moreover, any policy that amounts to a genuine occupational requirement for a job under Section 10 of the Race Discrimination Ordinance would not constitute as indirect discrimination.
For example, this is Faiza. Faiza applied for the position of a hotel receptionist.
Okay, we will have to do a test to see your Chinese ability. Can you read or write in Chinese? You will need it to process important documents.
I know how to speak Chinese fluently, however, I struggle to read and write. She she performed poorly on the written test, she did not obtain the job offer. It is not racial discrimination if the employer proves that Faiza needs to read and write Chinese in order to perform her duties as a hotel receptionist, as it would amount to a genuine occupation requirement. If the employer fails to show that Chinese literacy is mandatory for the job, it can be regarded as a form of indirect discrimination, because although applied to all candidates equally, this requirement would be more difficult for a person of a non-Chinese ethnic background to satisfy. And under Section 4(1)(b) of the Race Discrimination Ordinance, it would amount to indirect discrimination. What is a racially hostile work environment? Aisha is from Bangladesh and works in an office. In her office, there are clippings of a few selected news articles with a sign underneath that reads, "All crimes in Hong Kong are committed by South Asian foreigners." Aisha says that it makes her feel really uncomfortable, like her colleagues are treating her with hostility. Although the notice did not expressly target Aisha, under Section 7(2) of the Race Discrimination Ordinance, it amounts to an intimidating or a racially hostile work environment.
Under the Race Discrimination Ordinance, you are also protected if you are subject to racial harassment or discrimination, because someone believes that you are of a certain race even though you are not.
For example, Faiza's co-workers harass her with insults because they think she is from India, even though she is from Pakistan.
Faiza is Indian and smells.
Because Faiza is Indian, she has committed crimes. Here, Faiza still has a valid complaint that she can decide to pursue under the Race Discrimination Ordinance. You are also protected under the Race Discrimination Ordinance if you are an intern, a consignment worker, or a voluntary worker. Know your rights. It is important to understand the different types of discrimination that you may encounter in your workplace. You can also take legal action or file a complaint with the Equal Opportunities Commission. If you do proceed with legal action or a complaint, and your employer subsequently terminates your contract or treats you unfairly, this amounts to discrimination by victimization, which is prohibited under Section 6 of the Race Discrimination Ordinance.